Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Look, we need to talk about what happened in that game because something about it just didn't feel right. I'm not saying this lightly, but this was weird, really weird. This felt like one of those moments where you look at Caitlin Clark and think, hold on, what's going on here? Because Caitlin Clark looked done. She looked completely checked out of whatever was said to her, whatever happened on that bench, or whatever was going on internally with the Indiana Fever. There was a moment where her body language just screamed, what the F is happening? And we all saw it. We also saw the Atlanta Dream go on that huge 13-0 run that completely changed the momentum of the game. What's crazy is that before everything fell apart, the Fever were actually in control. I tweeted this during the game. The Fever were up by 5 points. Caitlin Clark had 19 points, 5 assists, and only 2 turnovers. Everything looked fine. Then suddenly, everything changed. Something seriously went wrong in that third quarter, and I think everyone watching could feel it. For lack of a better comparison, Caitlin Clark started playing like that version of Kobe Bryant from 2006 that everyone criticized for shooting too much, except in reverse. Instead of taking shots, she started passing up open looks. She was making passes that didn't make sense. There were moments when Sophie Cunningham was running to her usual spots like she was following a set pattern, and Caitlin Clark threw passes that bounced off her hands. There were possessions where Kelsey Mitchell made cuts without even looking for the ball. Her head was down, she was running to a spot instead of reading the play, and Caitlin Clark fired the pass before Kelsey Mitchell was ready. And yes, some of those turnovers are absolutely on Caitlin Clark. Your point guard can't just launch the ball at teammates and expect everything to work perfectly. But it also felt like there was something deeper going on. It didn't look like simple miscommunication. It looked intentional. It felt like Caitlin Clark was trying to make a point. That's the part that's concerning, because when you watch the tape back, you see a player who suddenly stopped hunting her own offense, a player who went from aggressive to passive almost instantly. And when that happens with someone as competitive as Caitlin Clark, you start asking questions. Now, the Phoenix Mercury are coming to Indianapolis for back-to-back games against the Fever. If I'm the Phoenix Mercury, I'm feeling pretty confident right now. Honestly, if I'm Nate Tibbetts, I'm looking at the situation and thinking we can capitalize. Because if the Fever are dealing with internal frustration or chemistry issues, opponents are going to notice. Everybody in the league is going to notice. And that's why some of these reactions online are so interesting. There was someone courtside who claimed that Caitlin Clark said, "See, I'm not being selfish." Now, let's be very clear. This was not caught on camera. This is not confirmed. We're not reporting this as fact. The person who shared it said Caitlin Clark wasn't necessarily talking directly to Stephanie White, but rather saying it toward the bench after being subbed out. According to that person, Caitlin Clark threw her hands in the air and appeared frustrated. Again, we don't know exactly what was said, but what we do know is that something happened because the overpassing was impossible to ignore. We've watched Caitlin Clark for years. We've watched her at Iowa, we've watched her in big games, tough losses, hostile environments, and difficult moments. I've seen Caitlin Clark score only 3 points against the New York Liberty. She wasn't checked out. I've seen the game where she burst her eardrum and struggled through the second half. She wasn't checked out. I've seen her deal with double teams, physical defense, and bad shooting nights. She wasn't checked out. This was different. Mentally, this looked like the first time we've ever seen Caitlin Clark completely disconnect during a game, and that's why people are talking about it. Now, to be fair, this wasn't even close to the worst overall game of Caitlin Clark's career. In fact, she may have had one of the best first quarters of her career. That's what makes this so confusing. One quarter, she's unstoppable. The next quarter, she looks like she doesn't even want to shoot. Overall, I would probably grade her performance somewhere between a C+ and a B-. Not great, not terrible, definitely not a masterclass. But I don't think you can blame Caitlin Clark for this loss, because let's be honest, without Caitlin Clark going nuclear early in the game, the Fever could have been down by 20 or 30 points much sooner. Does Caitlin Clark have flaws? Absolutely. Was she perfect in this game? No, but would it surprise anyone if something happened behind the scenes that caused this sudden shift? Not really, because the change in her behavior was impossible to miss. At one point, it felt like she was just throwing the ball at teammates and saying, "Fine, you want touches? Here you go." And those passes quickly turned into turnovers. Meanwhile, Fever fans were sharing stories from people who were courtside, discussing the visible frustration and strange interactions happening during the game. Again, none of this is confirmed, but the body language is there for everyone to see. And here's what really stands out. In the first quarter, Caitlin Clark was dominating. She had 1 assist because she was carrying the scoring load. Then the second quarter arrives, and suddenly it feels like the offense shifts entirely toward Kelsey Mitchell. It's almost like the Indiana Fever are trying to make sure everyone gets their points. And I don't understand that approach, because this offense often turns into pure isolation basketball. Your turn, my turn, now it's your quarter, now it's someone else's quarter. That isn't winning basketball. It feels like the message is, okay, Caitlin, you had your quarter. Now it's Kelsey Mitchell's turn. And that's not how elite offenses operate. The goal should be creating the best shot every possession, not managing shot quotas, not making sure everyone is happy, just play winning basketball. Instead, it feels like the Fever are more concerned with balancing touches than maximizing their best player. And here's the problem. When Caitlin Clark gets hot, Kelsey Mitchell sometimes disappears. When Kelsey Mitchell gets hot, Caitlin Clark seems to disappear. There has to be a better balance, because right now it feels like one player succeeds while the other sacrifices, and that simply isn't sustainable. I don't know whether something happened during the game. I don't know whether something happened at halftime. I don't know if the issue is between Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White. I don't know if the team is frustrated with the coaching staff. I don't know if the players are frustrated with each other, but something changed in that second half. Caitlin Clark looked done. She looked checked out. And if that's true, that's a problem, because regardless of the circumstances, players can't quit on their team. If Caitlin Clark mentally checked out, that's on her. At the same time, if the team has stopped believing in the system, that's an even bigger problem. Maybe the players have quit on Stephanie White. Maybe Caitlin Clark is frustrated with the direction of the offense. Maybe none of these rumors are true. We simply don't know. But speculation is already everywhere, and once that starts, it's difficult to stop. What we do know is this. Caitlin Clark had 19 points, 5 assists, and only 2 turnovers before everything unraveled. Whatever happened after that completely changed the game. It hurt Caitlin Clark. It hurt the Indiana Fever. And here's the reality. Whether people like it or not, this team needs Caitlin Clark. They're not winning without her. She's too important. She's the engine that makes everything work. So as we look ahead, the biggest question isn't about one bad quarter. It's about whether this was a one-time frustration or a sign of something bigger. Because if these issues continue, people are going to start asking difficult questions about the future of Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White. And honestly, that's a conversation nobody expected to be having this early. But here we are. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think this was just frustration in the heat of the moment? Or do you think something bigger is happening behind the scenes with Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White, Kelsey Mitchell, and the Indiana Fever? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.